All right, welcome back. Today should be a perfect continuation, segue, call it what you want, from about the last 3 weeks of videos. And if you're not watching these in order, it's okay. Yet I would recommend, most of these are standalone videos, but I would recommend you go back and watch part 1, part 2, part 3 of the 3 steps to patient and business success, because this will make way more sense, and dare I say complete sense, if you have the context of those 3 videos. So I want to build on, well, I don't want to build on those per se. I think I think the perfect word is segue. And talking about these, completed plans of care, how to sell completed plans of care, how to get agreed upon plans of care, how to get completed plans of care in the context of the patient life cycle, the experience you want to create, and then the systems you need to build out. Because let's face it, I said selling a plan of care. So, right. So think of attraction, selling, retention, excite, referral, right? That we did that flow of the business. So if we think about this plan of care, we understand the patient life cycle, where the patient is in their journey, what has happened the step before, the ecosystem of the business, then selling a plan of care should become a lot simpler. We never say easier here, right? Should become simpler, on paper, the structure, the process to be followed, right? Consistency, persistency, and patience is what's going to move you furthest, the fastest. How you like that in your business, in your practice? So understand the patient's life cycle, understand the experience you want to create, and those systems you're going to insert into that patient life cycle to create that experience, and understand the business, the flow of a business, of marketing to sales to excite to retention to referral. Then selling a plan of care becomes immensely easier. And I'm going to start with this. The bestest, simplest way to improve your plans of care agreed upon in completion is to go further upstream and understand what's happening during the first cell cycle of your patient's life cycle, right? Where is this patient currently in the life cycle of your business? Well, if they're sitting in front of you, they've gone through all the pre-arrival. They went through the intake process. They went through the trust building process, right? With videos, with phone calls. They arrived. You greeted them, if you're the provider. You greeted them, right, with their goals and with the information that was collected pre-arrival. All you're going to do is continue their journey. This is the beauty. This is not the start of their journey. Oh, the evaluation. I love asking this question in a room full of PT owners, even, and providers. Right? What's the most important step in a patient's journey with your business? Oh, the evaluation. I'm like, too late. It's not the most important step, right? The most important step is what happens before the evaluation. And then the evaluation becomes literally, bear with me on this, checking off boxes, right? Did I continue the conversation that started with my front desk? Did I continue to build trust? Yes or no? Did I continue to decrease fear? Yes or no? Did I continue to decrease doubt? Yes or no? Did I continue to decrease uncertainty? Yes or no? The more of those boxes we can check yes, the more likely you will get an agreed upon plan of care, right? That's cell cycle number 2, right? Cell cycle number 1 is arrive and pay for that first visit. Cell cycle number 2 is getting an agreed upon plan of care. That's what we're talking about right now. And then cell cycle number 3 is the checkbox of completed plan of care. Think about the patient life cycle. Think about the experience you want to create, and think about that flow of the business. Selling a plan of care to get agreement and completion. Because the selling is about agreement, and then the selling is about completion also. And again, here, let's build on this. This work I told you that was done pre-arrival, that you're just continuing the conversation. During that evaluation, right, when you are selling the plan of care, when you're taking them through the evaluation process, by the way, that needs to be done the same exact way 100% of the time. And by same exact way, I mean the conversation. I don't mean the test, obviously. but the conversation you're going to have with this person to put together the plan of care. I tell everybody, by the time you sit down to give them the plan of care, it is a review. They should be hearing nothing new because you talked them through all this as part of your evaluation. And again, like I said, whatever happens upstream, the step before sets you up for success. So if you want more completed plans of care, you got to do the work in the evaluation to get the agreement on the plan of care. And the better your work is to get the agreement, the increased likelihood of a completed plan of care. Remember, you control the process, not the outcome. So all you can do is the same thing over and over and over and do it well. All great athletes, all great business people do the same goddamn thing over and over and over and over. And they do it the same way and they do it well, right? And they constantly reflect and they constantly look back and they look for constant education. They look for constant ways to improve themselves and they do it the same way every single time. Again, the structure, right? Doesn't matter if you're seeing a low back pain patient, doesn't matter if you're seeing a pelvic health patient, doesn't matter if you're seeing a shoulder patient. The structure of how you're going to move someone through that evaluation and the conversations you're going to have at different times to stress their goals and their expectations, right? And to increase certainty. The more certainty you have at the end of this, the more likely they will agree to a plan of care. The more certainty you have when they agree to that plan of care, the more likely they will show up for the next visit and the next visit and the next visit, right? And if you're always getting objections about price in your plan of care, you didn't manage it properly upstream. By the time they get in front of you, price will not be, if you follow this process I'm telling you, by the time they get in front of you and you get to selling the plan of care, if the process is followed, the front desk did their work pre-arrival. With the first phone call, they gathered the data, they sent the emails, they made the phone calls. All those steps are taken and then they arrive and meet the provider and they're greeted properly and they're taken through the evaluation properly. Then price will not be the objection that it currently is for you. So the best way to get rid of the price objection, do a better job upstream. Best way to get more agreed upon plans of care, do a better job upstream. The best way to get a completed plan of care, do a better job upstream and make sure you are nailing your process 100% of the time. That is selling a plan of care. You like that? We haven't talked about anything within the evaluation. All that, the last, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, is the mindset and the high level structure around how I get plans of care agreed upon and completed. So if you haven't done that work and you're showing up and asking me, how can we get more completed plans of care? I need you to train my providers. I'm going to go, cool, I can do that. Let's start on the first phone call. Let's look at your marketing. Who are you attracting, right? The flow of a business. Who are you attracting? Are you attracting people that are a good fit for the providers they're going to sit across from, AKA people they can deliver the outcomes and results to, right? Are you delivering information to the provider from the pre-arrival phase that, again, sets them up for success so they can talk like an expert and decrease that uncertainty from the first moment? This is the best feedback I've gotten from my process of how we greet people and how we carry this information forward. Best feedback I ever get is people pausing and going, wait a minute, you guys share that information? You communicate that? Yeah, we do that, right? Right? It helps me to be better prepared to serve you, right? That's within the first 5 minutes. I've gotten that. People, literally patients going, wait a minute, you're sharing stuff with me I haven't shared with you yet. Oh no, you shared that when you made the phone call with Becky or Bill. We collect that information. I review it before you arrive. So I'm best prepared to serve you. I'm like, you don't think that plan of care is already 49% of the way sold? I was going to say 51, but I didn't want to hurt your egos. Remember, I'm a provider. I've sat across from patients for 15 years. That thing is sold before they arrive. The foundation is built. The foundation is set. You just got to frame it up, right? Think of a house being built. So you just have to deliver on what was promised. By the way, during the pre-arrival phase, your front desk team should be telling these people exactly high level. There's 3 things that are going to happen during the evaluation that correlate with the research of what people want from us, right? So that has to be shared, right? And I call that making sure people understand. That's part of that six-step sales process at the front desk. Number 4 is make sure they know what they will get for their time, money, and energy. So what will I get? What will happen during that half an hour, 45-minute, hour and a half long evaluation? And the answer correlates to the research, right? You guys have heard it here before. The research says people want an expert who will give them a diagnosis. So I say in the physical therapy world, that's tell them why their problem is keeping them from their goals, of which is step 2 on the six-step sales process for your front desk. Get their goals, right? They want an expert who will give them a diagnosis, AKA tell them how the problem is impacting them or why the problem is impacting them from doing their goals that you've collected. And then number 3 is they want a plan back to their goals. By the way, that came out of medical journals. Did research on this, pulled down a bunch of journals, put down all the commonalities, all the communication stuff, and looked at what were the 3 biggest things. It was those 3 across all the research articles. That's what they're expecting from you. So that's what the front desk sells. And then you can deliver that because you've been doing it. That's what you do. And so we put someone in front of the provider. So this is beautiful because I say the objective of the pre-arrival phase is threefold, right? I should say the objective of the first phone call really is to start to build a relationship that will last throughout their entire life cycle with the company. Be a problem solver, your front desk, not the physio or whoever the provider is. And the third thing is I say set the provider up for success. And if you think about it, that's pretty broad. If the provider set up for success, the patient set up for success. If the patient set up for success, I don't know if that necessarily means the provider set up for success. So I like to say set the provider up for success. Well, most of setting the provider up for success is just managing and setting expectations pre-arrival for this person so they know who the expert is. Then they know what they will get for their time, money, and energy. You've already captured their goals and their expectations. You share that with the provider to do what? Set them up for success. Then we train the provider on how to manage. And manage, it's high level. I'm telling you, it's not how to treat. It's not how often. I've never told a provider ever how many visits to schedule or what treatment to do. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to tell you how to manage this conversation, to continue this journey in this patient's life cycle. To do what? To get agreement on a plan of care, right? And then get a completed plan of care. So selling a plan of care to get agreement and completion, that's all the work that goes into that. And at Evalde, so if you think about this, let me back this up and then I'll finish what I was going to say right there. If you think about it, if it's about the providers selling and getting an agreement on the plan of care, we don't want the front desk talking about a future state, visits, money, any of that. Just bear with me on this. I know that might sound a little weird right now. I want the front desk person pre-arrival selling the first visit, selling the hour. Let's say it's an hour-long evaluation with a provider and what they will get for that hour and how much it will cost. So that first sales cycle, the objective is to get them to arrive and pay. Have you heard that before? They walk in the door, they meet the provider delivers during that hour and says, this is what it's going to take. This is how many visits, this is how long, right? Based on my experience, right? And so they get agreement on the plan of care, right? They get them scheduled out. I want that the sell is around, right? The SALE. The sell is around the provider spending that hour with you, not weeks. And if they want an expert and you schedule them out for 6 weeks, where's the expert's role come in this? This is for a whole nother day, right? We undermine the provider. We undermine the expert, right? When we just say we're going to schedule out per their doctor, or when we say we're going to schedule out for 2 weeks because we're busy, right? There's a conversation to be had, but without the context of the expert who will do all these things and getting them scheduled for a couple more visits, we're undermining the provider. So your current pre-arrival system is undermining the provider in getting agreement on a plan of care and completing a plan of care. How you like that? This is how this conversation started. We must understand pre-arrival. We must be managing that consistently 100% of the time across all people in order to get more agreed upon plans of care, in order to get more completed plans of care out of the provider. I'm going to tell you right now, we need to take work off of the provider and just deliver them a person whose expectations have been managed and set. They know the structure of how they need to move someone through an evaluation and how they're going to have a conversation with them, how they're going to talk about a plan of care based on their findings. And then we will have more success scheduling out and getting agreement on plans of care. Again, if we do all those steps better and more consistently, we will get more completed plans of care, which I'm not going to go into today. But the point is, the better we get an agreed upon plan of care, the better the work is to get that, the more likely a completed plan of care. Right? We're mitigating risk here. And if we can check all these boxes through their life cycle to this point, so if they get to you and all these boxes are checked, I say, hey, Jerry, you're set up for success. Just deliver. And you go, cool. And then you move them through the process and you check all your boxes. All your boxes correlate with expectations that were managed and set during pre-arrival. And you check all your boxes, then the likelihood of agreed upon plans of care goes through the roof. Right? Remember, we own the process. We can't determine the outcome. So we have to own the process and deliver it 100% of the time. And then when you're going through the course of care, again, if you've done all this work and you're checking the boxes during the course of care, then the likelihood of a completed plan of care goes through the roof. Drop-offs, lessen, cancels, lessen, no-shows, lessen. There's so much in here. And the biggest takeaway is don't go building out fucking retention systems and selling plan of care systems till you got upstream dialed in. Once you have upstream dial in agreement, then move to completion. So selling a plan of care, selling a plan of care is getting agreement and then completion of the plan of care, right? And we don't even need to go into that hour today, because if you do all that other work, you'll see your agreed upon and completed plans of care increase even a few percentage points. So take all your people who come through the door and increase your number of agreed upon and completed plans of care by 5%. You tell me how many more people will be leaving your business, your clinic happy, right? Tell me how much easier that's going to make it on your providers. Tell me how much your cancel rate goes down and your drop-off rate goes down, which means, right, more predictable, easy cash flow month to month. It's a win-win all the way around. Why? Because we're taking better care of the patient. Less cancels, less no-shows, less drop-offs are a result of that. More money in the bank. Your PT is not having to run around like chickens with their head cut off, wondering who's going to be on, how many people are going to cancel today and how many people are going to show up that they don't know or they didn't expect on their schedule. All right. I mean, you should have shoulda, coulda, woulda known that we were going to talk about, if we're going to talk about selling a plan of care, right? It's about this process, about the ecosystem of the business. And I'm really going hard, making sure people understand that upstream. And so even if you sit through a selling a plan of care workshop with me, guess where it's all going to start? And we're going to talk hard on that. And then we're going to go hard into the that hour, how to structure that hour. All right. Selling a plan of care, getting agreement and getting completion, 2 parts. All right. Again, if you didn't watch step 1 to our part 1, 2, and 3, and you got through this, go back and watch part 1, 2, and 3 of 3 steps to patient and business success. And this will make complete sense to you. It really will. Doesn't mean, right? You'll go, well, yeah, I get it. I don't know how to implement. That's cool. But step 1 is if you understand it, right? Then you know that the work needs to be done and you can start doing that work further upstream and then watch the success flow downhill. But if you try to do it just in the eval room, spinning, again, cancels up and down, drop-offs up and down. It'll work a little bit, but it won't work all the time. because the PTs won't have the people sitting in front of them whose expectations have been managed and set. All right. Cheers all. Any comments below, reach out to me. Join my Facebook group. Jump on YouTube, go, wherever you want, reach out. We can have a conversation about this stuff. Comment below. Always happy to chat. Cheers.